Disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. I first noticed it the night the power blinked and the house fell quiet, that tiny, bright moment when the rest of the world seems to stop and everything that matters comes into focus. He looked up across the living room as if he had felt it too. Our eyes met and held, that small, ordinary contact stretched into something warm and charged. A normal smile would have been enough, but his smile felt different, softer, like a secret that might be shared if I leaned in close enough. We were both wrapped in familiar spaces: the couch, an old throw blanket, the soft glow of the lamp that somehow made the room smell like the sea after rain. He sat near, not touching, but close enough that the heat of his shoulder could brush mine if I reached. The kind of closeness that doesn't need words. I told myself it was the storm outside, the quiet, the late hour. I told myself 1,000 small things to keep my heartbeat from giving away the rest. He laughed at something small and easy, and the sound made the space between us shrink. Conversation slipped into gentle pauses, those pockets of silence where glances have room to breathe. I noticed his hand on the edge of the cushion, fingers curled as if holding an invisible promise. I noticed how his jaw tightened for a beat when he talked about things he loved, like he wanted permission before admitting it. It made him more human, more approachable, and somehow more dangerous to my careful calm. There was warmth that felt like a lamp left on under the covers, safe, private, but oddly electric, a tug at the edges of restraint. My skin responded to the nearness of his breath, to the way his presence rearranged the air. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was the steady building of a hush that made everything else recede until only the two of us remained in a bubble of possibility. I had planned to keep my distance. I had reasons, practical, tidy reasons that made sense on paper. But when he shifted, the space closed further. The room seemed to lean in with us. I felt a word on the tip of my tongue, a name that didn't belong to the moment and wanted to slip free. Before I could catch it, something small and irreversible moved through me, and the air hung heavier than before. The next breath promised either confession or collapse. He stood in the kitchen now, back to me, pouring the last of the wine into 2 mismatched glasses. I watched the way his shoulders moved beneath the soft fabric of his t-shirt, the way his hand lingered on the counter just a second too long after setting the bottle down. "You didn't have to stay," I said quietly, almost hoping he wouldn't hear me. But he did. He turned slowly, wine in hand, and crossed the space between us with easy steps. "I know," he said, handing me the glass, his fingers brushing mine, a spark where skin met skin, so brief yet so loud in my mind. I didn't pull away. We moved back to the living room, sitting closer this time. The storm outside had turned to a gentle drizzle, like the world was listening in, waiting. "I still remember the first time we met," he said, looking at the glass but not drinking. "You laughed at something I said that wasn't even funny." I smiled. "You looked like you needed it." I probably did. That silence again, the kind that isn't empty but full of things unspoken. I looked at him, really looked this time. The crease near his mouth when he smiled. The faint scar on his chin I'd never noticed before. The way his gaze lingered when he thought I wouldn't notice. I shifted slightly, knees brushing his. He didn't move. "It's complicated," I whispered, not even sure if I meant the situation or the way he made me feel. "Yeah," he said. "But not wrong." I should have said something clever, something to pull us both back from the edge. But my breath caught when he reached for a strand of my hair, tucking it gently behind my ear. His fingers lingered just long enough to make my skin hum. I looked up, and his eyes searched mine, not demanding, not assuming, just waiting. And I didn't move. He leaned in, slowly, like he was giving me time to stop it. I didn't. Our foreheads touched, barely, like a whisper between thoughts. No kiss, not yet. Just warmth. Just truth. "I think about you," he murmured. My pulse jumped. "I know." And that was all we said. Nothing more. But everything had changed. I told myself it meant nothing, the way his hand hovered near mine on the couch, Close enough to feel the heat, but not quite touching. The kind of space where a decision could still be made. But we weren't really making decisions anymore, were we? We were just feeling. He spoke softly, as if raising his voice might break the fragile threads stretched between us. "You've been quiet," he said. I didn't look at him. I couldn't. "I'm thinking." "About what?" "About what happens if I say this out loud." He turned slightly toward me, knees now fully touching mine. The contact made my breath catch. "Say what?" "That this shouldn't be happening." "But it is." That truth hung there like fog in warm air, visible, heavy, impossible to ignore. I finally looked up. His eyes were already on me. Not curious. Not even bold. Just there. Present in a way that made it hard to breathe. They weren't the eyes of someone who didn't care. They were the eyes of someone who cared too much and knew he shouldn't. "I care about someone else," I said. "I know." His voice didn't waver. "And you're his, I know that too." The silence that followed felt deeper than the others, thick with guilt, need, and everything we weren't saying. My hand shifted on the cushion, grazing his. It could have been an accident. Should have been. But neither of us pulled away. "I can't betray him," I whispered. "But what if it already feels like we have?" he said. The room felt smaller, tighter, the air warmer. My heart was beating faster than I could manage. Still, I didn't move. Neither did he. Every second of stillness felt louder, like time was pressing down on us, daring us to choose. He reached for my hand, slow, intentional, and our fingers laced without resistance. It was gentle, almost innocent. But it felt like everything. "I shouldn't want this," I said. "But you do. And you." "I've never wanted something more." We leaned in, just enough to feel each other's breath. Close enough that I could see the flicker of conflict in his eyes, mirroring my own. Our lips hovered, a breath apart. We were right there. Then the door creaked open. We froze. The door clicked shut again. Whoever it was, didn't come in. Didn't call out. Just left. And now we were alone again. But something had shifted. That moment of almost had cracked something open between us. A secret too big to ignore. The room felt warmer. Smaller. My chest rose and fell with shallow breaths, and I could hear his just as clearly, matching mine like we were synced without trying. He ran a hand through his hair and laughed, nervous, quiet, low. "That was close." "Too close," I said, but my voice came out like a whisper I didn't fully mean. Our fingers were still loosely twined on the couch, neither of us willing to let go. I should have pulled away, made some space, said something casual, but I didn't. Instead, I let my thumb brush over his slowly, barely a movement. But it felt like lightning. "Are we going to pretend that didn't just happen?" he asked, tilting his head toward me. I swallowed. "I think we're past pretending." He moved closer, not a lot, just enough that our legs touched from knee to hip. The heat of him seeped into me. I could feel his heartbeat through the point where our arms met. The silence stretched, full of everything we weren't saying. His hand slid to the small space between us, palm up. A silent invitation. I placed mine in his without thinking. He looked at me then. Not rushed. Not pleading. Just waiting. Giving me every chance to stop it. "I'm scared of what happens if this goes any further," I admitted. "So am I. But I don't want to leave this room." "Then don't." His voice was barely there. The quiet kind of desperate. I turned to him, fully now. Our faces were closer than before, my knee brushing his thigh, our shoulders touching. His eyes flicked to my lips, then back to my eyes. I felt my skin prickle, my pulse rushing loud in my ears. He lifted a hand to my face, slow, careful. Fingers grazing my cheek, then my jaw, tracing the line like a question he wasn't sure he could ask. I leaned in. So did he. Our lips were a breath apart. And then fade to black. I don't know who saw us. But someone did. It wasn't a noise or a shadow, it was the sudden shift in energy, that cold wave that brushes your neck when something invisible is watching. That feeling followed me the next day. Through the hallway. Through half-finished conversations. threw glances that felt like questions I didn't want to answer. He felt it too. I saw it in his eyes when we met again, this time in the back room, behind the kitchen where no one went unless they were looking for something they shouldn't find. His jaw was tight, his voice lower than usual. "I think someone knows." My stomach turned. "Who?" He shook his head. "I don't know. But it doesn't matter, does it? We're already too far in." I opened my mouth to deny it, but stopped. Because he was right. I hadn't stopped thinking about him. Not for a second. Every moment we were apart stretched too long. Every memory of how close we'd come haunted me in the quiet. I could still feel the almost of his lips on mine. And now, knowing we were being watched, knowing eyes might be on us, it didn't make me want to pull back. It made me want him more. That scared me. He stepped closer, like gravity was stronger between us in secret places. "Tell me I'm wrong," he whispered. "You're not," I breathed. Our hands brushed again, casual, deliberate, no longer hiding behind excuses. My heart slammed against my ribs. The air between us pulsed with something alive, desperate. "There's something else," I confessed, voice barely audible. I lied. That night? When I said it was complicated because of someone else, that wasn't the whole truth. He blinked, eyes narrowing just slightly. "Then what was it?" "I've wanted you, long before any of this ever started." I just couldn't admit it. I was scared of how real it felt. His expression softened, like those words unlocked something he'd kept locked behind restraint. His fingers slid along my jaw, tipping my chin so our eyes stayed locked. "I've felt the same," he said. "Since the first moment." The silence that followed was thick with surrender. No more holding back. This time, when his lips met mine, there was no hesitation. No room left for guilt or fear. Just fire, slow, consuming, quiet, and loud all at once. My hands tangled in his shirt. His arms pulled me closer. Every part of me melted into him like I had been waiting for this moment forever. We were no longer on the edge. We were falling. The moment our lips met, the world disappeared. There was no room for second thoughts, no space left between us, only the weight of everything we'd been holding back. The kiss wasn't rushed. It was slow, deliberate, full of years of silence finally breaking open. It was warmth and ache and relief all at once. His hands found my waist, and mine slid up the back of his neck, fingers curling like I needed something to hold on to. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. Everything was already being said in the way our bodies moved, the way we pressed closer like we were afraid to let go. He pulled back just slightly, resting his forehead against mine. His breath was shaky. "I've wanted this for so long it hurts." "I know," I whispered. "Me too." We leaned in again, lips brushing, not with urgency this time, but with care. Like we finally understood what it meant. What it risked. And still, we chose it. The air was thick with the scent of rain and something warmer, the scent of skin, of comfort, of coming undone. My heart beat so loud I was sure he could feel it through my chest. Every touch left a trail of fire. Every glance pulled me deeper. Then, just as he kissed me again, slower this time, sweeter, I felt it. A pause. Not from him. From me. Guilt? No. Something else. A truth. "I have to tell you something," I murmured, pulling back just enough to look into his eyes. He froze. "What is it?" I hesitated. The next words would change everything. I wasn't supposed to be here that night. The night we first talked. I was avoiding someone else, someone I was supposed to meet. I told myself you were just a distraction. His eyes darkened, not with anger, but with something heavier. "And now?" I exhaled, trembling. "Now I don't think I could forget you, even if I tried." He searched my face, then kissed me again, not as a question this time, but as an answer. We weren't just crossing a line anymore. We were erasing it. The room was still, but not silent. Our breathing filled the space between us, slower now, steadier, like the storm outside had finally passed. We hadn't moved much. Just shifted slightly, enough to feel each other fully, honestly, without fear. He was lying beside me, His arm draped gently across my waist, fingers tracing slow circles along my side. I rested my head against his chest, listening to the rhythm of his heartbeat. It felt real, grounded, like everything before this moment had just been waiting for us to arrive here. Neither of us spoke right away. And that silence wasn't empty, it was full. Full of memory. Full of meaning. I didn't think I'd feel this, I whispered. What? He asked softly, brushing my hair back behind my ear. Safe. Seen. Wanted, without being afraid of it. He pulled me closer. You don't have to be afraid with me. I closed my eyes, feeling the warmth between us. Not just from touch, from truth. From knowing that what we had was more than chemistry. It was connection. It was choice. There's still fallout coming, I said, voice heavy with reality. People will talk. Let them, he said. We know what this is. That's enough for me. And somehow it was. Because in that quiet aftermath, nothing felt rushed. Nothing felt wrong. What we shared didn't need a label. It didn't need permission. It just needed to be felt, and it had been fully. I turned to face him again, my hand resting against his cheek. He leaned into my touch, eyes half closed, vulnerable in a way I hadn't seen before. I'm glad it was you, I said. His smile was soft, real. It was always going to be me. We kissed again, not like before, not out of need or heat, but out of certainty. A lingering kiss that said this happened, and it mattered. The kind you don't forget. The kind that rewrites you. And as the night deepened and the rain softened to a hush, we stayed there wrapped in warmth, in honesty, in each other. Not perfect, but real. And worth every second.